Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo, and I wanted to do a response to this whole Sargon Thunderfoot community situation because I didn't want to at first, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized I didn't like my arguments being misconstrued to that large of an audience without at least addressing some of the points that were made. One, in Thunderfoot's original video about leaving the skeptic community, he used my video about Russian Deadpool, aka Alexander Kopolov, and used it to essentially kind of paint me as a pro Second Amendment nutjob who feels that people should be given access to guns regardless of their mental state. Never mind the fact that after that section in the video, I went on to say that I feel that there should be way more resources allocated to mental health programs for people who to destigmatize that particular part of society, and that we need more people to have access to these resources. And I've made that claim every time there's a shooting. Again, I still stand by the notion that, you know, a gun isn't an autonomous object. It can't act on its own. It needs a person to operate it. It is a tool that has multiple purposes in essence, and that's the whole point here. That's the accurate portrayal of what it is. But a scientist taking the emotional approach to all of this really came across as highly disingenuous to me. I mean, supremely disingenuous. Not only were my arguments misconstrued, but the arguments and even the humor of that live stream was misconstrued. Yes, the live stream, for all intents and purposes, was poor taste, but at no point was it aimed at Heather Annabelle. At no point was it aimed at the victim of the crime. It was aimed at the person who committed it allegedly. It was aimed at the person who was well known for being a gigantic cockknocker. All right. A guy who is known as being a chucklefuck. A guy who is a male feminist. And he is accused of killing his female partner. There's a level of irony there. That irony is only felt by people like those in that stream. Those who are very much speak out against feminism and the ills of social justice warriors. Those who have been labeled bigots, misogynists, sexists, racists, rapists, xenophobic, everything under the sun, instead of ever actually looking at the arguments one presents. It's just met with nothing but hyperbole and straw manning. And that is precisely what Thunderfoot did in his videos. Sargon's response basically showed him where he got things wrong, and Thunderfoot doubled down on it again, which only leads me to believe that this is a person who is very much trying in his own mind to emotionally justify leaving this particular side of YouTube. It's the only thing I could think of. The only thing I could think of would be Thunderfoot has probably been out of this in terms of just kind of how he's, you know, like maybe mentally speaking, he's just kind of checked out of this entire part of things for quite some time. And this is just what triggered him to make the leave. But instead of just making the leave because he wanted to, he had to craft and create a reason, and using a tabloid-esque live stream to joke about a person who committed a horrible crime. And the point I'm trying to make with that is that we, those of us on this side, the anti-SJWs, those who speak out against these issues, we're the ones that are labeled everything that Russian Deadpool actually, well, allegedly did. All right, people like Matt Hickey, you know, who is a male feminist who came out and attacked Gamergate. And you find out this is a guy who was going around in multiple cities pretending to be a porn producer and tricking women into having sex with them, and was caught and is now being sentenced. You know, he's a rapist, right? Like you find out that people who are male feminists are coming out and being exposed as pieces of shit, but we're the ones, because we speak out against it, that are labeled all of these things. And so it's, yes, a little bit of kind of, you could say, comeuppance that people are feeling here. They're feeling a little bit of vindication. They're feeling like they that, you know, they're not the bad guys, and they're just expressing it in a way that, well, bad jokes. And you can take that any way you want, Phil. You can take it any way you want, but you came at this thing from such an emotional viewpoint that it threw out all rationality, all objectivity. And this was you trying to emotionally justify to yourself the reason to go. Hence why in your video, why you were glad to leave the skeptic community, you focused on your science videos. You focused on talking about your traffic to your channel. What does that even have to do with the price of tea in China? Nothing. Nothing. It's because you are looking for reasons to walk away instead of just walking away. Instead of just walking away. But you took people who respected you, who liked you, you misconstrued their arguments, and you painted them out to be as bad as the Westboro Baptist Church? No, motherfucker, no. The only way that would apply is if we went to Heather Annabelle's funeral in Colorado and went out there with signs that says God's hate fags, right? Or God hates feminists, or she deserved to die for being a feminist. That would make us the Westboro Baptist Church. But we didn't do that. We didn't do that at all, right? People making bad jokes about a dude who is a piece of shit is not the same thing as picketing a fucking funeral. It's not. And now we're even finding out that Russian Deadpool maybe didn't even have PTSD, right? We're finding out that he might not have actually been in the military longer than 6 months. Information is kind of flowing out. That's the whole point of all of this. People were making jokes, and as we come to find out, this dude was probably even more of a piece of shit and more of a liar, stolen valor, all of these things. But you focused on the feminist part of it too. Oh, why does it make him a male feminist? It's the association and the label he donned upon himself, and how him donning upon that allyship towards feminism and used it as a way to attack those who were anti-feminist. So that's why there's a bit of irony there. That's why there's a bit of that humor involved with it, because there is a history there. There are people that have been labeled what they're not for many, many, many years. And every time something like this happens, it's just another, well, for at least from our perspective, a way to look at it and go, maybe we're on to something here. Maybe we're on to something. And so people are celebrating a little bit. Like I said, tabloid stream, bad jokes, not in good taste. I will be 100% in agreement on that one. But if you want to talk about about this community, Phil, and you wanting to leave it, let's at least be fair here. If you do a video about feminism, which you did a lot, you rode that to prominence. Just like you were one of the key figures in the atheist community on this fucking platform. You were one of the key figures, kick that thing off, going after Venom Fang X back in the day. All right, you have been part of these communities. You are a staple in these communities, if you want to call it that, whatever. You're a known figure on this platform in regards to that subject material. But every time you do a video about feminism, doesn't matter if it has anything to do with Anita Sarkeesian or not, you loop it around and put it back on her. So to sit there and make the claim that when Sargon defended himself, that's what Anita Sarkeesian would do. That's par for the course for your antics. It's another reason why I think you're looking for any kind of emotional reason to walk out of this. Because you want to focus more on being a researcher, and you want to do more in your science, which is cool. Debunk shitty science. Keep doing that. People will like that from you. But if you're not into this and into what this is, then don't throw everyone under a bus. Don't misconstrue their arguments, because all that does is showcase that you don't do the proper research. And as a person who made it abundantly clear, in your videos that you've had research papers published, so on and so forth, it kind of destroys your credibility even as a scientist. Because if you can look at, actual science and not apply the same type of evidence gathering and the same type of objective viewpoints and objective reasoning and objective research into social sciences, then it kind of does call a few things into question. The whole thing here is, Phil, I like you. I always have liked you. I have nothing against you. I feel you were wrong here. I feel you were wrong and you misconstrued myself and others for the purpose of just trying to emotionally justify an exit. Might I recommend for the future, if you want to do the exact same thing, don't try to emotionally justify it. Just walk the fuck away. Just do something else. Because what you do here, what you did here, it doesn't benefit anybody. It's just you kind of bumping your chest and going like, I leave. And in the meantime, you show yourself as being disingenuous and unable to perform the proper research into the source material to come to a proper conclusion. So your hypothesis is flawed. And that's just the fucking truth of it. But like I said on Twitter, you want it out. You admitted you want it out. And there we go. But I would ask that in the future, if you're going to, sample one of my videos, you at least sample it in enough context to where it doesn't paint me as something I'm not. You don't misedit videos of other people on this platform to paint them as something that they're not. And you do the due diligence.